Okay, so the Detroit Lions have drafted a tight end. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, yes, so drafting tight ends hasn't worked out exactly perfectly in the past. However, I think Hockenson is a tremendous player. I really didn't think they were going to go Hockenson here because I thought they were going to have Jesse James be their starter next season, but honestly, I really like Hockenson and I don't hate this move at all. And while his great blocking ability has kind of gotten beaten to death, he's a great pass catcher as well, and that's actually going to be the main focus of this video. One of the things Iowa loved to do was come up with creative play calls to help Hockenson out. They have a lot of creative play calls, and this one would be one of them. First, it's going to be a play action, where first the fullback is going to go out to lead block, and they're going to send a halfback to the bottom half of the screen. What they're also going to do is send those two receivers out to block right there, and Hockenson will be blocking that edge rusher right over there. So everything at this point, at least on paper, appears as though it's going to be a very basic play action, which is what you would see on this play. And while it is going to be a play action, it's not going to be very basic. Hockenson, after blocking, is then going to run through the top half of the screen. But really what I want to show you here is look at how long he holds that block. I mean, he totally waits until the Minnesota player runs over to him and then makes the block. That fully sells as though he's going to be blocking on this play, and now he's able to get wide open. So now he's basically in a foot race, and look at his great speed and his great acceleration on this one. Despite the fact that he's changing direction, he's still able to go so quickly and get very far. He also reaches out to get to the end zone, which I actually hate. I hate when players do this. The last thing you want to do when you're up 10 with 3 minutes left is to fumble the ball. But again, that's a small thing, but it is something I don't like. And being that Matt Patricia is under the Belichick tree, I do have to imagine that he would learn from Belichick and say, yeah, don't do this kind of thing. But that's really a nitpick, and I think it's plays like that kind of show you, okay, this is the kind of talent we're dealing with. Yes, that was a great play design, but he ran that play absolutely perfect, which is what led to such a big play. And while, as I mentioned, I'm not really going to be talking about his blocking ability too much, his blocking ability does set up other things. Like on this play, as of right now, he is down, which makes it seem as though he's going to be blocking. And since it's 3rd down and 1, this seems like a pretty typical time that you would be blocking. However, it's actually going to be play action. Then Hockenson's going to be running that route right there, but take a look at how he's going to run this route. One real key thing I liked here is as he's running that route, look at how he kind of puts his arm over that defensive player. I mean, this is almost like something you would see an interior lineman do to a guard, except it's a tight end doing it to a defensive player, which is really unique. And this is also going to be where his acceleration comes in, because Wisconsin is going to realize that he's going to get open at a certain point. And again, look at how quickly he goes off. I mean, he just accelerates like some wide receivers do, and honestly, he accelerates better than some wide receivers do. If he can do these kind of things in Detroit, Matt Stafford will easily be able to hit him deep downfield. I mean, anyone could hit him downfield when you're getting that open. It was a good play design for sure, but you still do have to be able to execute good play designs. And speaking of good play designs, or at least interesting play designs, this one was a wild one. It's going to be a little bit difficult to realize what's going on at first, but that's partially because the center is right there. Yeah, that's the center. He's not on the top half of the screen, he's all the way over there. And the reason for this is actually pretty simple. Notice how many Wisconsin players are around him. There's way less Wisconsin players over to the top half of the screen where there's a ton of Iowa players lined up on the line. Basically, the way this play is going to work is he's going to lateral to Hockenson, who's then going to run up to the top half of the screen. Because of the huge numbers advantage to have up top, they're able to easily make all their blocks, and Hockenson's able to easily run into the end zone. And while this really wasn't the most difficult play Hockenson's ever going to have to run, it's one of those easy touchdowns basically due to his scheme, I think it says something that he was the guy they chose to pass the ball to, not a receiver or a halfback. They trust Hockenson's speed, then on a crazy 4th down and goal in a weird situation that he'll still be able to make this type of play. But okay, enough about those weird wonky ones, let's get into some more normal ones. Like on this next one, it's going to be similar to kind of like a bunch formation, however, instead of a typical bunch formation where you have 3 receivers lined to the outside, this time they're only going to have 1 receiver who's in and 2 tight ends who are in, but it's the same concept, where they're all going to be running routes and they're all going to be crossing each other, which could create some confusion for Minnesota. That's where Hockenson is on his play, and he's actually going to be the second read. Basically, you're going to read from left to right. You're going to go to the guy all the way to the left, then the guy in the middle, and then the guy to the right. So when Hockenson goes out right there, typically he's going to try to get around these Minnesota players. He's going to have to try to get through them. And there's not a lot of space to operate, so he's going to have some clever footwork to try to make sure he gets through there. But if he can get through there, this would be a very good thing because the defensive back who's in charge of covering him is that defensive back right there. So Hockenson's basically going to have to get small, get in between those defensive players, and then get up to the top half of the screen very quickly. It's going to take some speed and some clever footwork, and also he's going to have to get open long enough because he doesn't know if the quarterback's going to be looking at him right away. He's not the first read on this one, so he's going to have to try to get open as long as possible, but he is able to get open long enough, and the quarterback is able to hit him for a touchdown. It's those types of plays that make him so valuable. Obviously, he has that great acceleration and great speed, but he's also a great red zone threat. Like on this play, it'll be another example where it's going to be a cover 1 blitz, meaning there's only going to be 1 safety back. But since there is a receiver running a go route deep to the bottom half of the screen, this now means that the 1 safety who is back is actually going to break down to the bottom half of the screen. And because Hockenson is also going to be running a go route, this now means that it's going to be one-on-one coverage basically throughout the entire play. But of course, the flip side is, look at how much space his assigned man has on this go route. I mean, typically if you want to run a go route, you want that player to be as far in as possible, and he's several yards deep. So this now means that Hockenson's going to have to outrun him, but very quickly he's going to do exactly that. Not only is he able to create some separation, but also notice how he turns his head back and turns his shoulders back. He's in position to make this play, while the Indiana defender is definitely not. He's able to leap up and make a tremendous grab on that one for a touchdown, and again, that just goes to show he's a great red zone target. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you can move the ball all you want, but if you can't get into the end zone, then what does it matter? And again, those are all kind of wonky plays, but this one is really where I think he'll be the most useful. I mean, when you think about drafting a tight end who can catch the ball, what are the two situations you think of? You think of red zone situations and you think of third down situations, and Hockenson can be very effective in both. Like on this play, he's going to be running an out route to the top half of the screen, and they're going to fake play action to the top half of the screen as well. And honestly, this part of the play isn't really that impressive. I mean, he ran his route well, and the defender was playing off, so he was able to cut and gain a lot of space, and it was a solid throw, so Hockenson is still standing up when he makes the catch, so all of that was good, but again, nothing too crazy. So if you're a smaller player trying to tackle Hockenson, how would you go about doing that? Well, you'd probably try to hit him right there. However, because he's so fast, so strong, and has such great balance, he barely even gets moved on this type of thing. He was able to outrun the initial blow, so it was only a smaller blow, and then with his strength and balance, he wasn't able to get knocked over. He then runs the rest of the way for a touchdown, really just showing how talented of a player this guy is. That's another thing I really like about him, is his ability to run in open space. Not all tight ends can do that, however, when you do have a tight end who can do that, it can be incredibly valuable. Because a lot of times when you do try to get a tight end open, it's just to try to get past the first down marker, but when he can run even further, it can be a huge thing. Like as you see on this one, he's going to start off blocking that edge rusher right there, and then move up to the top half of the screen. So first things first, he's going to have to get off his initial block very quickly, and that's actually not going to go too well at first. This is one of the rare times where Hockenson doesn't make a great block, and he's actually going to get pushed back decently far. However, if you notice the way his body is turned, he has his right arm on that Penn State player's left side of his body. He's basically going to get ready to push that Penn State player to his left, and then go to the right side of the screen. So while it wasn't exactly a brutal block, he was still able to make the catch and run over and try to pick up some more yards. This was actually a designed play, so it's not really too big of a deal that he didn't make a great block. However, typically you would have made a little bit of a better block. That being said, he picks up a decent amount of yards and is getting pretty close to the first down marker. But again, one thing worth noting is look at how low that Penn State player is. Hockenson could try to run around him, but who knows how well that would work. And you can also try to run through him, however that is much more difficult to do when a player is so low. So instead, what's he going to do? He's just going to go over him. And again, something like that, I don't know how often that'll happen in the NFL, but I do think it goes to show how talented of a player this guy is if he can hurdle over people. Not everyone can pull off a hurdle, but if you are going up against a guy who is that low, why not take a chance? It also just goes to show how high he can jump, which is really impressive. I mean, this guy is 6'5", 251 pounds, and he can still hurdle over people. I mean, that just goes to show what kind of an athlete he is. I mean, being a guy who can be so agile and also block so well really opens up the playbook for offenses. Like on this play, they're really going to try to sell as though it's going to be a run, and one way they're doing that is by having Hockenson block right over there. They're going to be running play action to the bottom half of the screen, and they have a fullback and tight end who are in the game, so this definitely is selling a run. So at first he's going to start the block, and this now makes things very difficult for the Purdue defender who's in charge of covering him. If he just stays back and it is a run, it could allow for an easy run for a touchdown. However, if it is play action and he goes all out to stop the run, this now means that Hockenson will be wide open in the end zone. So instead, he really does have to be about right there. That's actually really where you want to be. He's actually doing a very good job in this one because he can still make sure that he's covering Hockenson and he can still be aware of a potential run. But there's one problem for him, and it's the fact that Hockenson can accelerate really quickly. I mean, look at how fast he's going to get by him. I mean, he creates so much separation so quickly and is able to make an easy catch for a touchdown. His ability to block really can set things up in the passing game, and this next play will be another example of just that. It's a 3rd down and 1, so once again, they're going to be sung as though it's going to be a running play here, where what they're going to do at first is send their fullback out to block right over there, and they're going to fake a play action to their halfback right over there. They're then going to once again have Hockenson start off blocking, but then run a route to the top half of the screen. So that's the way this play is designed to work for Iowa. Although one interesting little twist on this play is that Hockenson is actually going to be going up and blocking the guy who's in charge of covering him. So look at what Hockenson is going to do to take advantage of that. First off, look at where he puts his right arm right there. This is key because it allows him to push his assigned man further back. And because of that Illinois player is going to have his left side of his body now further back, this now means that Hockenson can use his left arm, pull him back, and kind of get him completely out of the way. Because the contact is happening within 1 yard of the line of scrimmage, it almost gives you a pass to perform pass interference on this one. Hockenson knocks him out of the way, and now he has a ton of separation because he is such a big guy, he was able to do that. And because he can accelerate so quickly, that creates some separation and turns it into even more separation. And one last play I want to get into, and it's again a similar concept where he is going to go out to block that edge rusher right there, and then run that route right there. But one thing I really want to take a look at is take a look at how patient he is in making this block. I mean, he waits as long as he possibly can while making this block. And so while the Illinois defenders are being aware to roll out to the bottom half of the screen, Hockenson is still blocking. This now means that those two players right there are not worried about Hockenson on this play because it seems very clear that he's blocking. But instead, he is running a route and he's able to easily get open and it results in a touchdown. So again, really just a good play design more than anything, but he executed it perfectly. I mean, he was so patient in that block. Oftentimes guys, especially young guys, will get too excited at times and want to run their route too quickly, but Hockenson knew he can't do that on that play. Patience was going to be key, and yes, there was a chance that someone was going to get to the quarterback before he had a chance to finish his route, but you have to accept that risk. There was a chance of that happening, but in order to play to work, you have to make sure that you can sell it for as long as possible. I really like Hockenson, although it should be mentioned that I wouldn't get too excited next year if I'm a Detroit Lions fan, because tight ends do historically take a little bit of time to develop. However, I do think that in the next few years, this guy could absolutely be an all-pro level player, or at least a Pro Bowl level player.